Go. Can you hear me all right?
I'm dying right now, but yeah. How you doing, man?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
So I'm hoping this one goes better than last time. The last time me and Malice tried to do this, we did a 2-hour long stream where we touched bases on a lot of hot button subjects, and lo and behold, it just kind of vanished off of Google.
Yes.
So we're hoping this one goes a little bit better, and it's me going slow playing right now as I'm getting caught up in the background with listening to news. I'm saying all this just in case we have anybody watching, because I just posted this on 2 different platform links. So
okay. I just am looking up to what you were just talking about lockdowns and stuff, and I can't.
Like I said, they were saying it was regional, so I think
it'll be
the possibility of. It sounds like they're weighing out the possibilities of how bad this new variant's going to be, because they were showing live venues and restaurants and stuff like that.
Okay, well, it was maybe 5 hours ago. I heard. Does it start with an O? This new version, yeah.
Pronounce it. It says Omicron or Omer. It almost sounds like
Omicron. Omicron. OMICRON.
Right. Which is ironic because I know you're not religious, but yesterday in church we were talking about how eerily similar it is to the Latin word omega, and as in like biblical different words, and they're taking different letters off of these things to try to make it not those words.
Right.
Almost like they're letting people know without letting people know.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Well, something I read only how many hours ago, I don't know, but they said that our vaccine should cover us for this new strain.
That's what you would think, that the fact that they're all flu variants, that it would. But I got to be honest now. I was about to ask you this. I was going to wait for a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and ask anyways. You being in Australia this whole time.
Yep.
And we've all been communicating, even other people we know, off and on. Wouldn't you say that at this point, it just seems that it's too easy for them to say another virus or another disease, and we got to take another 5 or 6 different shots? It's almost like they're saying, get a line, this is the new normal that they were talking about.
Well, mate, that's what the thing I was reading earlier said, is maybe we'll move up the booster shots. They were talking about Australia has enough vaccine to bring the booster shots forward, because it was meant to be you wait 6 months. And they were saying if the health department suggests that that's what we should do, then that's what we're going to do. I'm not doing booster shots and all that, mate. I've done enough. I mean, come on. When's this ever going to end?
This is the attitude I've had with it. And I've had family members that have got it. I wasn't public until recently about it, but even my daughter supposedly had it, even though I still think that it's a false positive test that she had, because we treated it like we would any other type of flu, other than the treatment they gave her because she was so young. They gave her that remember I showed you a picture of it, that breather treatment thing, you know what I mean? But other than that, we just did what we had to do. But the reason why we think it was a false test is Jane Phillips, the hospital, has a lot of issues. I'm not gonna, because it's a small town, I'm not gonna say more than that.
Yep.
Other than the fact that they did refuse flat out to retest both of my children, and they did a rapid test. So I said, well, can I please get a different test? And my wife asked, can we get a different test at different times? And they said flat out no. So rapid test was fine, but an actual in-depth test was not.
Well, that's funny. Whereas here, they can't test you enough. I mean, and we don't pay or anything. I mean, you just go and say, I want to be tested, and they'll test you every day.
Right. I mean, it's scary. It scared and especially for me, I think that time period of my life was probably the hardest, because I'm so outspoken against COVID and the vaccines, and have been. And let me put out right now saying, I feel there is a need for certain people to actually have the vaccine and treat it such as a disease because people have compromised immune systems, health issues, age issues, and other factors. However, we all should not have to be forced to act like we're sick if we're not sick.
No, I agree. I
You
mean,
understand? That's lunacy. Honestly, that's like I was telling you that one time in private conversation. To me, this is like the classic psychologist that from the horror movies that we would watch. It's like their wet dream. Like all the crazy scientists from the 1950s movies and stuff like that. It's like they're just having a field day right now. They could, if you could dream it, you could be it. You know what I mean? Basically. Hold on. I'm trying to finish this thought real quick, but is it just me or does it seem like we're at a point of uncontrolled fantasy?
I think we've been lost in that realm for quite a while. I mean, like just what I was telling you the other, I can't believe what some people say and don't feel embarrassed about it. It's amazing to me. Again, it was just 2 days ago, Mike. I was telling you, a person as white as me is calling an Israeli soldier a Nazi. Right. And I mean, no irony there whatsoever. Their face doesn't turn red. They're not embarrassed. There's no shame.
This is the thing, like what I was telling you the other day, how here in the States, a lot of people, sorry, bear with me, a lot of people call it putting on blackface now. Like if you're a minority and you support a conservative viewpoint, or if you support the opposite viewpoint, they say they're putting on blackface or pretending and acting for the white. You know what I mean? This is the point of society where we're at. You have a different opinion, you're a racist.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it's come to. In our country, again, we have people as white as me and you calling a man that fought in the Israeli army, they call him a Nazi, for Christ's sake.
Right.
He's got a Star of David tattooed on his forearm. He's not a nut. Whatever happened to slander?
It's fine for them, but it's not fine for us. And if you want to be honest, we've talked about this before. This is a start of different type of socialist systems where they take society and they turn it upside down and cause conflict. And you get these splinter cell rebel groups. Sometimes they lose power once the countries turn to socialism or communism. Often they turn into just rebel groups that last forever, like FARC, which we're about to get into some serious topics here in a second about that. Fuck it, let's go ahead and do it. So China Joe Biden took Pol Pot's his old army off the terrorist watch list. Now, we both know in 1997, Pol Pot had successfully killed half of the country's population in Cambodia. That's what these people are doing. You're talking about people that have a tree that they used to play a record around the whole, like their national anthem, as they tie children and women as young as infants, sometimes women holding their children, as they beat them with sticks until blood will come oozing out of them. And then other times they would just shoot them. Okay, he just took them off the terrorist watch list. He also took Colombia's terrorist group off the watch list. He's also taken Taliban off the terrorist watch list. He doesn't want to do anything to China, but yet he wants to condemn Russia.
I mean,
you get what I'm saying?
This man, just think, you're United States of America, mate. Kennedy shot in his face in the middle of the fucking daytime, and this cunt gets to walk around with no consequence. It's unthinkable what's going on.
Honestly, like I said in my last episode, I'm to the point with a lot of people to where, because of the political climate, now I can get online, and I don't know if Stoner read what I typed the right way or whatever the other day, but the way I look at it is, if I'm online, I'll debate anybody anywhere, or you know what I mean, I'll comment whatever. But when I'm offline, it's gotten to such an intensity that you never know if you're going to be attacked. You never know if you're going to be fired, if it's going to be conflict. So you really have to develop this personality trait of, for self-preservation reasons, of, yeah, well, whatever floats your boat, Twinkle Toes. I mean, yeah, sure, the sky's pink, and Tupac was seen walking down the street, you know, yeah, absolutely. Because if you say anything else, then you're a racist, a Nazi, or this or that. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. I'm just amazed so many people care. See, if I don't respect your opinion, I don't really care what you call me. It doesn't matter, you know.
No, and I totally get that.
But it seems that's not the way of the majority anymore.
No, we're living in a very weak society. George Carlin said it best in the 1960s. Soft names make soft people. Soft words make soft reactions. What is this gender dysphoria and abbreviations if it's not just softness? I mean, honestly, it's a very dangerous game they're playing. I've said it off and on for the past couple of years. When you take the opportunity and allow people to wake up one day and just decide, I'm a female, I'm a dude, and I'm gonna dress like it, and you're just gonna fucking accept it. How the amount of rape
Beyond accepted, Mike. We're
is
going to call
going
you
crazy right now.
beyond accepted. We're going to call you names if you don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're a bad guy if you don't believe my delusion.
Exactly, and it's a very dangerous game. I'm talking about with the kids now, Mal. This is where we're going to get into some interesting areas here, because I have nothing against people having fetishes or urges or whatever. My issue comes at children and society. What you do behind your closed doors, that's your business. Do you get what I mean? But when I knew there was a danger to it, because what I was saying, if you allow somebody the ability to just dress however they want and claim to be whatever they want, you can't tell me there's not molesters and rapists that's not going to take advantage of that. In fact, since this stuff has been pushed, school rape and adult rape statistics are going through the roof globally, along with youth suicide because they've chosen the wrong gender and don't know what to do. So
now, Mike, I forget the term too. Gee, damn, there is a word for what I'm saying. But it's got something to do with when a kid in school stands up and says, oh, hey, I'm a whatever. I identify as a this. Well, then the next kid says it, and the other kid says it, and it spreads.
It gets popular. And
yeah.
And you got to keep in mind that I'm not against the LGBT community. I have family members that are part of it. You know what I mean? I've had friends that are part of it. I'm against the idea of turning it into a political and pushing it upon our children through propaganda such as children programming, such as children music, such as teachers. The education system, I don't know about in your country, but in my country, is in dire health need. It's got to the point to where they're allowing people to teach, substitute teachers without teacher degrees or any kind of certificate. They say they'll just train you there.
Just because they're so eager to have more teachers because they've alienated so many.
All the educators that are walking out. So now, okay, so just to push the vaccine, let's put our kids' education right out the window then, so we can keep this mandate going. This is the current administration. I call it China Joe because I personally dislike, it's no secret, I dislike Joe Biden.
There'd be something wrong if you didn't.
I feel like he bows down to China every single witch thing that China does. And I feel like by now, if you haven't realized that, then you're just stubborn as hell or an idiot. You know what I mean? When China says something, Joe does it. You get what I mean? It's just that clear. And I'm talking about globally. And we're dealing with going back to that childhood thing, because I don't want to lose track of that, okay? We got the Maxwell case going on. And that case has the potential. It's like a Pandora's box. It can unlock. And I'm not talking. What's amazing in me is there's not so many people talking about this. The amount of kids from urban neighborhoods that have been pimped by adults and then eventually sold to these networks through strip clubs and all that, not including all the children globally. But Maxwell and Epstein were pimping these girls out to and selling them to princes and royalty and CEOs. I'm not talking about the entertainers.
No,
I'm talking
I
about
know.
the own entertainers.
Yeah, mate. The girl, what's her name? Virginia. She lives in Queensland.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's 4 hours north of me by plane. But that's where I say that Prince Andrew must have loved COVID. It just took his name out of circulation, and
Oh,
we all started talking COVID, COVID, COVID.
oh
I
yeah.
mean,
And I've lived in England, so I have the potential to, like, things that happen in England catch my ear because of that. But you know what I mean? It's even there. I'm floored at the way the English people have just bowed down to all this. You know what I mean? It's not till recently, in my opinion, that you're starting to see people protest globally. And they can say what they want to, but I think right now we're starting to see the country lining up to who's supporting the globalist agenda and who's not. I'll give you an example. Africa is one of the most populated countries on the face of the earth. It's also known to be one of the, if not the most worst healthcare systems on the earth. Yet they have the lowest COVID rate, the lowest COVID death rate, lowest vaccination rate. And one of their leaders just recently came out and said, in this country, there will be no lockdowns, no mass restrictions, no vaccines, no restrictions on travel. But there are certain countries that they instantly fell in line. Mine, yours, England, the list goes on and on. There's certain, more civilized, I guess you could say, countries, some people would argue, that went, yeah, we're going to fall in line and bow down. But then you got these other countries going, nah, we're done. We're not doing it. And then you have people within these countries that are done that's not doing it. Look at your country. You have police joining the anti-lockdown protesters now.
well, about time. I only spent 20 months saying to you, mate, our police are acting like Gestapo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's unbelievable what they're doing, to the point of I'll never have any respect for Victoria Police. Like, I understand you need police, it'd be a terrible place without them, but their behaviour over the last fucking 2 years has been shameful. I can give you a million examples. It was every single day something ridiculous. A man choking a fucking woman. She's got a mask exemption in her pocket. She didn't just do a homicide. She didn't rob a bank. Why are your hands around that young girl's throat?
Yeah,
they tackled her to the ground.
Those videos are crazy.
Oh, and yet no one cares, mate. It took 20 months before I saw Victoria have a response I would have called reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Those protests that they called riots, they were not riots.
Mm-hmm.
Riots is broken windows, bloody people, fire. These weren't riots. These were protests that police overreacted to. And yet, at least in my country, mate, it was this simple. The line was at 40 years old. People under 40 tended to say, oh, those irresponsible bastards shouldn't be out protesting. People over 40 tended to say, thank fucking goodness they are.
Right.
It was very obvious. Like 40, that was sort of the line. People over felt one way, under felt the other.
Can I ask you this? That video I sent you, because of the networks that me and you like talked on, or I do, but I correspond with you being in Australia or whatever to verify stuff. But the SOS message I got with the lady that was tribal that said Australia is about to commit genocide on our people, and we need people that's going to document it, and boots on the ground and doctors and whatever we can get, because they're not going to allow reporters to do this, because they said they don't want the white man's medicine. And I'm talking about the northern outback region.
Yeah.
Is that actually plausible as what it sounds?
Absolutely. I wouldn't doubt it for 1 second. I haven't looked into it. I haven't been there. But no, I don't hear that and say, oh, bullshit, no way. I think, oh, yeah, that sounds about right. And I watched that thing you sent, where the guy's pleading for international help.
Yes.
And I don't dare. I told you that when I first moved in here 17, 18 years ago, the woman 2 doors down was part of the stolen generation.
Right.
That means white people come into her tribal community and took her from her mother because we don't think you are fit to raise a child. Now,
Right.
that all happened. It's not a joke. It's not pretend. That happened. And
And
I
see,
wouldn't
she's done
argue,
videos. She's done videos before talking about that.
I wouldn't argue for 1 minute that that's happening again. I
Mhm.
don't see that man and think, oh no, he's just telling lies, looking for sympathy. I hear his words and I think, gee, I bet you're telling the truth.
Right. And I mean, and that's the thing, because I know the history of Australia was like that. It was a bloody, what's the thing that surprised me about your country is, like I told you, and you could say it's American perception, like we said before. But my idea of Australia was the outback and rescuers down under and like, you know, that kind of
Crocodile Dundee and all this sort of thing.
yeah, you know, just like other people say here, their perception is like either beaches and LA and Hollywood or cowboys and teepees and you know.
Right. I'm telling you, my mother passed away in August of 2019. I've told you a million times. If she knocked at the door today and I had to explain to her what's gone on since she hasn't been, she wouldn't believe it.
Mhm.
No one would. If you went back to 2019 and said, here's what's going to happen over the next 2 years, nobody would believe it. And it's only in that time that I've really come to understand politically, Victoria is the California of America. I never knew that.
Mhm.
I would have said maybe Sydney, New South Wales. You know,
because that's where they do, like, that's Sydney is where you see the sailboats and isn't it, and like the coast or whatever.
yeah, but the Opera House, the West,
right.
the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but that's always been the big LGBT Mardi Gras thing. I would never have imagined for 1 minute that the people of Victoria would cop the amount of shit that they have in the last 2 years. And again, when the protests start happening, I said to you in real time, I said, Mike, thank fuck, I'm feeling a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Because I promise you, when that 6th lockdown got extended, it was meant to be a 7-day sharp shock, was the term they used. 7-day sharp shock lockdown. I went to the supermarket, and while everyone's wearing a mask, it was like everyone's dog had just died. People were sincerely, you could feel that it was something different. It was like, oh God, here we go again. This is never going to end.
That's what I was trying to say is, if you look at the culture of Australia as a whole, and we've talked about this before, it was like how Sicily was. It was an area where they dumped their criminals at, and you guys developed a society. Do you get what I mean? Now, granted, horrible things happen to the natives there, and honestly, I feel still do. And that's the thing about me is, even here in America, like when you take groups like the Panthers, now I don't support a lot of the rhetoric because I consider it racism, just like the Klan. Do you get what I'm saying? And extreme on top of that. Yep. Now, saying that, plus I don't support the LGBT stuff on a spiritual level. You know what I mean? But however, I do respect the right to have militia, and I do respect the right to have the Second Amendment. And that's why I did something that a lot of people wouldn't have expected, is when they appeared at that Audrey case, which you remember in real time, I was paying attention to the Rittenhouse case. Like I was watching it daily. And I kept saying the whole time, if you're wanting to see a racist, the Audrey case is the case where the Panthers need to be outside of. And that's why when everybody was jumping hysteria because they had rifles and they were like out front, like you've seen a lot of like right-wing people talking about it. I wasn't one of them. I actually sent out a picture of it. It said in this instance, they have every single right to be there. Because if how is it you can't allow one group to have a militia and not allow another group to have a militia? It doesn't make sense, because that right there is a control factor.
Yep.
And I can't. So I'm very much, when I say part of the freedom movement, it's like I very much am America first and freedom. Like I'm about the Bill of Rights and Constitution. I'm about the fact that I may not agree with what you're saying or the way that you're saying it, but I agree with your right to have your opinion, as long as you allow me to have my right to have my opinion.
So that's what's gone. That's what's gone out the window in the last couple of years.
Right.
Is I don't care what you say. You have a right to say it, because if I'm going to shut you up, how long before someone's going to shut me up?
Exactly.
So, but that's gone away now. It seems Democrats, specifically in your country,
Mhm.
they want to crucify you if you don't agree with them. I
Well,
mean,
that's Gestapo. I mean, the Democrats, to me, and I'm going to be honest, like, yes, I do have a history, and I will always say I am a liberal conservative that votes on a Republican side. Now, saying that, right now, people need to realize this is going to be kind of a complicated thing that I'm about to say. So you have a lot of shifting going on in DC. Okay, you still have a big right. In fact, I think the rhinos are growing because you have Democrats right now. Now, what they're doing is they're dropping out of the party of Democrat and aligning with the Republicans, right? And you have a surge within the GOP coming. Now, this is a good thing because I was just explaining to my buddy from Queens, New York. You remember Jeff? Like I've had him on my show before. I told him just 2 days ago, actually. I said, and honestly, I feel like we still need that red wave to happen to rebuild confidence in our nation. But at the same time, we need to understand that we've been infiltrated by the Democrats on the same side and the rhinos. Do you get
so
what I'm saying?
rhino
That's
to me.
that's the hold on. That's the reason why I tell people pay attention to the younger people that's running on the America First agenda for your nation. It will be called something else. I don't remember what it is, but pay attention to your candidates that's running on the principle of your nation.
To me, the term rhino means Republican in name only.
Yeah, it does. That's what it's supposed to mean.
Right. Okay. Yep.
As far as I know of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. Now, when I was a kid, there was a thing called the PMRC, the Parents Music Resource Center. This was a bipartisan thing, but it was like Democrats were shifting towards the Republican side. It was Republicans that always wanted to ban music, and you can't say this and you can't say that.
It was like that here too.
Well, fuck, how things have just flipped totally. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It really is, and nobody sees the craziness of it all. Because to me, I'm about individual rights. You get what I'm saying? And I think that there needs to be boundaries. Like, granted, I support the legalization of cannabis and always have fully. Do you get what I mean? However, I do think we need to have some, common sense laws like driving underneath the influence, public intox, children underage, common sense things that, because I'm sorry to tell you this, and if you could look at Portland and you could, or let's just say Washington as a whole, and you could look at California and you could look at how let's just go with Washington because I know for a fact they fully have, but legalize all of these hardcore narcotics, right?
In the park?
What is happening? It's a shit show. You have addicts everywhere because if you tell an adult, hey, this is legal now, guess what? Adults are going to go, oh, okay, well, yeah, now I can do it legal. So it's going to be no big deal. I'm just going to do it a couple times on the weekend and just kind of like, have some fun, let my hair down. And eventually you're going to have I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying there's going to be a great majority of them that's just going to end up becoming more addicts. And it's almost like, to me, it's almost like the Democrats are encouraging people to get sick and dead.
I agree. I could 10,000 miles away. That's what I say.
You want to rape children? Sure. You want to do drugs? Sure. You want to declare yourself a girl and go into a woman's bathroom and rape somebody? It's, whatever. Like, this is the point that we're at. It's absolute insanity, and nobody really wants to admit it. And that's why I said earlier, I'm to the point to where when you're in public, it really is dangerous. Like, you got to carry protection on you, because I'm telling you, people nowadays just seem to be crazy enough to where they disagree with you and they're like, fuck you, and just want to kill you. In New York City, one of the most publicly broadcasted security surveillance cities in America, next to DC. 4 teenage age Muslim girls, and this is nothing against Muslims. Okay, don't get me wrong, but 4 Muslim girls put an elderly blonde girl in a hospital, just beating the living hell out of her. Now, there was grown men on that train
who did nothing
but sit there, laugh, and film me. Where have we gone as a culture, as men? That's why I sent you that one video of that girl that was tweeting out saying, we're dealing with socialism and the start of it globally. We're dealing with a time period where we need men again. And she started naming off all those people and saying they were men. We need people that's going to protect women and children and step up for what's right. Because that's what they're taking away. And they're not just taking away manhood, they're taking away females too. Because if you think about it, breastfeeding is now reworded. Okay, now they want to take away
I heard this.
You get what I'm saying? So it's universal. They want to take away breastfeeding, so it's universal. That's a female function. So now females, what else are they going to take away from females? You got to ask yourself that. You get what I'm saying? Things that females used to say, and it was even common jokes on TV shows, movies, even in pop culture. Things that were universal female, they're taken away from them now. Now, there's a lot of females finally talking about that. You get what I mean? And a lot of them kind of feel the same way we do, to where if you feel whatever, then go do what you want to do behind closed doors. But you're talking about mothers too. They have children. Do you get what I mean? But the insanity part of it is when you have people like, I had an old coworker who was a high school girl, and she said something I disagree with. And I said what I said. And she said, well, thank God dinosaurs like you are dying off.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, you forget one thing. I got 3 kids.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm installing my values onto them. So they think they're going to be able to take away all this stuff, but really they're trying to take away manhood and femalehood. Think about it. If you really think about it.
Well, they've killed common sense, mate.
Did you ever think you're going to see gangster rappers wearing skin-tight pants, holding purses, makeup? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out an example of pop culture there. Did you ever think that you'll see metalheads doing the stuff they're doing?
I'm astounded. As you bring that up, I just read today Gene Simmons of KISS talking about people who won't take the vaccine are the enemy. It's like, you live in a free country, right? Right. Fucking hell.
I mean,
what was the Nuremberg Code all about, right? Was that just a load of rubbish? Have we forgotten about that?
I think so. I think they don't teach it anymore, because really, if you think about it, eugenics was outlawed by the United Nations because after World War II, the experiments that was found out in different countries that was going on, including our country, they could claim that we didn't do stuff and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is it was outlawed because of how crude it was. You're talking about Mengele science here. You're talking about the early Soviet science. Yep. And it was outlawed. Do you know what? It was outlawed and renamed and taught as liberal science. Because if you look at what they're doing and teaching, what is CRT? It's critical race thinking. Okay, now they're trying to claim that this is supposed to, but they're trying to tell you that you're racist without knowing that you're racist. You're inherently racist without knowing that you're racist. Well, at the same time, that sounds a lot like the earlier stuff that socialist propaganda that was coming out of Russia and Germany. Because if you disagreed with what the state was telling you, and the state had their celebrities too. Do you get what I mean? If you disagreed with what the state was saying, you were executed or you went missing. You know what I mean? And this went, let's say, bloggers today is the equivalent to pamphlet and news printers back in the day. That was outlawed. Do you get what I mean? What me and you are doing right now is the equivalent of people talking on CBs back in the day. And people would eventually, like, whenever they got full power, they got wrangled up. So this is a very real threat that's plausible that they're not talking about. And there's a lot of other stuff going on too. And that's why I was saying about the CRT is really socialist propaganda that's brainwashing you. Do you get what I mean? And that's why I'm against it. Like, people know how I feel about it, because I understand exactly what it is. And it makes me upset that I live in a state that's one of the most reddest states in the union. And one of our biggest universities, Oklahoma University, when our governor said, absolutely not, it will not be taught in our state, it's going to be outlawed, and he signed a bill. 2 days later, OU gets found out they're teaching it anyways. Do you get what I mean? So that's why I'm against it. And it's really, to me, it's also a distraction, because is there not bigger things going on globally? I mean, you have Iran. They're about to finish, quote, their nuclear warhead. I'm pretty sure they got more than just one that they're working on. You have Russia moving into different countries' borders again. And Belize, I believe it is, they're trying to get the Iron Dome. The Israel's Iron Dome, like another version of it. You have Germany right now. You have an Antifa actually infiltrated political section of German politics and is now an official political party there. You have Antifa reemerging in Poland as well. You get what I mean? You have all kinds of civil unrest going on. You have, I think it was Iran that directly sent out a video to our Department of Defense and the Biden administration condemning them. You have all these other countries finally stepping up. They see how weak we are. And to all the people watching now or later on, whenever I finish recording this, hopefully it stays up this time, because I'm going to do it today. That was once said, if socialism comes to America, it's going to come in the name of liberalism. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what we're seeing. And keep in mind of what we're saying, because I'm about to go into some other issues because we're 39 minutes in. But keep in mind of what I have been saying. I'm not against the LGBT community as other than spiritually. I'm against it spiritually, but I'm not against it politically until you started telling my children that is this or that, until you started forcing it onto people.
Well, that didn't take long, did it, Mike? I mean, just in this country, I mean, it wasn't 2-3 years ago they had the referendum thing on gay marriage. It won. We have gay marriage.
Right.
I mean, it hasn't taken 3 years.
There shouldn't be nothing wrong with them getting married, is what I'm saying. Like, unless
I'm okay with that. But give an inch, take a mile is what I'm saying. They didn't take long to say, hey, give me more, give me more.
Well, it's funny how that works, right? It really is. And that's why I'm saying it makes me upset when you hear these groups that are supposedly rebel groups talking about, we're about these issues. Why aren't you talking about the amount of children that's being sold? Not yesterday, not months ago, but today and tomorrow and the next day in countries like I could show you on this map I showed you the other day next to me, and all across the world on border areas.
Horrifying.
You know what I'm saying? They're not talking about the real threat. Like, they want to bring in virtual reality. Okay. Now, taking fact that since the COVID lockdown, it's proven that people are getting unhealthier because they're eating whatever they're eating. They're in their homes. They're not leaving that much.
What during our lockdown, McDonald's didn't lock down.
No, exactly. It's funny because COVID, to me, it should be called a destruction thing, because globally what it did was it killed your mom and pop businesses. You see, mom and pop wasn't able to have their stores open, right? But your bigger retail gas stations was, your bigger commercial chain stores was,
Yep.
You know what I mean? The people willing to bow down to the globalist agenda is what I'm saying, or contributed to it. They were allowed to stay in operation. Why is it that churches, schools, and pubs were locked down, right?
Social gathering places.
And libraries, because that is gathering places where people openly communicate about what's going on.
And we can't have that.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever the American Revolution happened, it happened in churches.
Well, Hitler in the beer halls. I mean, it goes back that far.
Right. I mean, this is the actual reality of what we're talking about here, and people don't see what's really going on. They're fighting over stupid issues that they shouldn't be fighting. You get what I mean? Like, why are we talking about who you want to screw or what you want to wear or what gender you identify? I really do feel bad for these people when they introduce themselves. I saw the other day, and they were introducing themselves. It was like a work training video or something. And the lady spent like 5 minutes abbreviating everything that she identified with before she finally got to the point of what she was there for. Do you get what I mean? I'm like, that would be horrible. And first off, nobody should have to force to know what you identify as anyways. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, okay, let me put it like this. How would they feel if a straight couple acted the same way that they're acting?
Well, really? Just imagine.
There'd
be some complaints, I'll bet.
What if they started acting the way they're acting?
Yeah.
It would be hysteria.
Of course.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, I posted a meme the other day. It was a Demolition Man. And it said, one of the most underestimated movies in history. Did it not predict exactly what's going on right now? An ultra PC society where even bad words were banned. You know what I mean? Everything was ultra health conscious. Everything was ultra PC. And then everything was bubbly. Like, weapons were banned, and they had the police had stun guns and all that kind of crazy shit. That's literally what we're being rushed into. Like, I like to tell people, we're living in a time period where people feel like they're intelligent when they're really not intelligent because they have devices. See, I sent you that news story about the electronic wave bomb and how China and Japan are rumored to be working on one, or not Japan, but China's rumored to be working on one. You know what I mean? And the reason why I sent it to you is because if that thing has the radius of a nuclear bomb, like a bomb. Okay, now that radius is designed to fry all of the electronic grid. So if you manage to take out that radius of an electronic grid in a populous area such as New York City, Los Angeles, Melbourne, Queensland, and people lose the ability to plug in their phones, their laptops, their TV, their microwaves, their stoves, because everything's automatic. Their TV faucets, everything's AI now. Everything's chipped. You know what I mean? So all their devices fail to turn on. No electricity, no nothing.
They wouldn't know what to do with themselves.
A lot of people are going to go to what? Massive chaos. I used to have a theory saying the ultimate strike on any nation would be to take out their power grid, because you could almost watch the citizens take out each other from a distance. Then do your little biological thing, and then do a nuclear one, and then invade or whatever. You know what I mean? Step by step by step. It's a horrible idea. It's a horrible idea, but I'm just saying, realistically, if you were a foreign nation, that would be like the most devastating thing to do to somebody, because people would that whenever Facebook went down for that one day, people were losing their mind. That's why I want to get back to the virtual reality thing and COVID, because I know you've talked a lot about COVID off and on. When you have people locked down, and I'm talking mental health wise and your physical health wise, and they're not able to get outside in fresh air. Now you got Mark Zuckerberg talking about virtual reality, where people will be able to work, shop, date, go places, create their own world, all in 3D. I literally picture that movie, that Pixar movie with people floating, and they have like the virtual reality everywhere, and they're just obese, and they're on those giant chairs just floating everywhere.
Funny
That's
you say that.
virtual slave.
I'm thinking
Virtual.
of the South Park World of Warcraft episode where Cartman gets 5 times as fat with pimple. That's what I'm thinking of. I mean, they've predicted the outcome again.
I mean, honestly, yes. It's really, that's what I'm picturing is, and people don't even realize that's what we're being rushed into. These corporate people, I'll give you another one. Ted Turner and Peter Griffin, whatever, they were floating with Bill Gates on those jetpacks. And Peter goes, they look so small. They look so small from down there. Bill Gates, and I guess he was doing a guest episode, said, they are small, Peter. They are small. They are ants. They're nothing but ants. And I was like, boom. That's how they view us. Like, it wasn't until I worked at this 5-star place, like a 5-star hotel and restaurant, and I had to go to these catering events, and I realized people with money that can, and I've seen it, people with money that pull out money clips and they have like $100 bills just in rolls. To them, if you're a dishwasher, a janitor, whatever, a construction worker, a restaurant worker, you are the help. And what does the help translate to, my friend? Slave. So that's why nobody cared in America, celebrity-wise, about all of this financial stuff that Biden was doing, right? Until it started hitting their income. Now you're seeing them get on board with everybody else saying, this is messed up. We got to do something. Well, now it's affecting their money. They're like, oh, well, hey, wait a minute. When it was just affecting my fans, it was cool. But now you're affecting me. That's not okay. Huh?
What a fucking disgrace.
I'm just like, I know, but I'm presenting it the right way. People can say whatever. I mean, that is the truth. That is the truth. That's how the rich elite look at you, that you are the slave. You are just minimum worker. They're going to give you, okay, so to these type of people, they could give you a little menial salary. You know what I mean? They could give you a little menial salary, but you're still nothing more than just a little worker ant. You can own your own little mom and pop business, but you're still nothing more than a little worker ant. You get what I'm saying? And they're trying to figure out a way to make people basically virtually slaves. And I think Mark Zuckerberg is trying to launch his idea.
Well, mate, I'll tell you one thing you got very right. In Australia, gee, I guess we're going back, God, must have been about 12 months ago. I'm a terrible judge of time. Maybe it was 2 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Australia was arguing they wanted Facebook reporters to have to pay news sources whose articles they reprinted. And Australia had some sort of complaint with this so they turned off Facebook in Australia for half a day. You know what the problem was?
What's that?
People started screaming, I can't contact the fire department. Why? Well, because I don't have Facebook. It's like, have you ever heard of a fucking phone book? And the answer is no, they haven't. They've grown up their whole life with Facebook. If they want to contact the fire department, they look it up on their silly Facebook, and they are useless without that service. They don't know what to do.
That's what I'm saying. It is really, I kind of feel bad because our generation, you're not that much older than me, man. I think you're only 2 years older than me.
I've just turned 47, mate. So 74 I was born.
Oh, well, yeah, never mind. Then you're a little bit older because I'm turning 40 in March. But we're living in a time period where our generation, we saw the birth of the internet. We were the generation that got pagers, cell phones.
I had a pager as a young teenager.
You know.
But
so
you know this.
We've allowed this danger to poison our families.
So, mate, I'm asking you this. If the people 2 years ago are saying, I can't contact the fire department because they've turned off Facebook, how long is it going to be? 10 years when people are saying, I'm starving to death because I can't get Uber Eats?
Right. Like
Why
they
not?
know how to eat. You get what I mean? And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. Look, these wealthy people, they might know how to make some ramen noodles or some basic stuff, but they don't know how to cook for themselves. A lot of them don't. A lot of them, they just go get whatever because that's what it is. And that's why I said these elite people, like the celebrities, they were on board until it affected them. Don't let people need to remember that they,
Well, they
you know,
they should be declared the world's greatest hypocrites. I mean, as I come to a conclusion, how many years ago was it you saw Meryl Streep standing on her chair applauding Roman Polanski? And then what was it, 2, 3 years later, it was Me Too and black dresses? Doesn't anyone remember her standing on her fucking chair applauding Roman Polanski? They don't know.
yes,
They just don't know. They
right.
don't see the hypocrisy.
They really
Clearly.
They really don't. And it's because of the fact that it's like I almost commented on somebody the other day because um, their comment was just ludicrous. And I'm like, about where they get their news from, to this other person. And I'm like, well, no offense, but you probably get your news from social media and platforms like this. You're just mad because their sources are different than your sources.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's exactly what you were just saying. The hypocrisy of it is it's okay for them, not okay for you.
And no one sees the problem. So if the people who can't see a problem with that, I'd say they're too stupid to be allowed to walk amongst us. I mean, when you're as white as me and you're calling a brown man with a Star of Day, he fought, and you know this, and you're calling him a Nazi.
Mhm.
If you can't see just how far off the reservation of logic you have gone, I don't want you breeding. I don't want you driving a car. I don't even want you breathing my air. How can you be so stupid?
Well,
It,
honestly, it could be fixed if people start. And I've been telling my friends this. Even though I'm on social media for my show, a lot of times now I've been leaving my phone off to the side just to unplug for a while because
you've got to.
you we've allowed ourselves. I realize we've allowed ourselves to pass on this tradition to our kids, and now you have these rich elitists going, we got them now. We're going to introduce virtual reality to have virtual slaves in the essence. And I don't want to, you got to be cautious of this with our children because it's one thing to get on here and enjoy it and do whatever. There's a whole entire another thing for what they want. I really do feel like they found a way to finally achieve what their goal is. You get what I mean? And now you have George Soros funding what is it he called it, friendly news reporting or something, like where he has a fact checking, he's running the biggest fact checking agency now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but I wouldn't trust George Soros if he was in front of me personally and told me something.
So, what do you think about the people that say, "Oh no, he knows what he's talking about"? Right on. Like, there's got to come a point where you want them eradicated. They've got to have their mouths sewn shut or something.
Money makes you do crazy things. Honestly, the things you were saying could be fixed with we start holding people accountable like Soros, because these people have the kind of money. Like when you look at the Maxwell case, I seen an article the other day I posted. Her family is so surprised to learn that she had a secret husband and a secret family. These people have the kind of money to buy islands the size of a small country.
Yep.
You get what I mean? You think they care about anything? Epstein's island was considered his own like country, and he had his own laws. These people can have the ability and the capacity to do things that they want. They don't believe in the law. The law doesn't apply to them. In
But
19, I'll give you another one. In 1950 something, during World War II, Rothschild Sr. was seen coming out of an opera house, and the interviewer came up to him, and they were talking about it was like the very beginning of like the TV or whatever thing, you know what I mean? And they were asking him if he's worried about financially about what's going on, and World War II and all that. And he said, he laughed before he got in the car. He said, of course not, because whoever controls the banks controls the queen. And whoever controls the queen controls the narrative, and laughed and got in this car.
And yet people still don't understand what Hitler's point was. I understand it all went off the rails. It all went very, very.
Now you're never going to get me to agree with anything publicly.
I'm not trying to get you to agree. I'm merely talking about people still today look back and think, what? He was just some racist lunatic who was anti the Jewish person. No, 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 no. International banking cartels. Interest.
These people aren't just Jewish, is what.
No, not anymore. They're not.
Now,
it's spread.
Now, I got friends that are like family to me all across Israel. You know that. And I support Israel fully. You get what I mean? I don't hold any nationality accountable for anything that a couple people do that's wealthy in their family. That would be the equivalent of saying that this person or this nationality is wrong because of what this person did. Do you get what I mean? So I will never be able to look at it from that perspective. Do you get what I'm saying?
I think you could if you just understood, and I know you do. For the 1,698 years preceding 1945, Jewish people had been expelled from over 80 countries. Hello, France. Hello, England. Okay? They were expelled for a reason. They discriminated against the host country they were in. They were the first to turn on themselves. And I'm not saying I hate Jewish people. I don't know any Jewish people. I'm saying historically, for 1,698 years before 1945, over 80 countries had expelled them. That wasn't because they were all racist people. It was because they didn't like someone coming into their environment and discriminating against them.
Me and you have talked about this before, about how it dates all the way back to the Bible days.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because of the fact that God chose them to be their chosen people, every single nation around them and everywhere that they went to persecuted them.
You don't think that was just because the Bible said they were God's chosen people? Surely you understand that when 80 countries have expelled them, they did something to warrant that expulsion.
I think that it started off the way I said it started off. And I think that over time.
So why is it today, Mike, if I want to find Jewish people, I drive to St Kilda, rich area? Why is it today, if you want to find Jewish people, you go to New York?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
I mean, I don't have the answers for that. All I know.
I do. It's because that's where the money is.
All I know is the thing about, I look at it like Lucky Luciano looked at it. Do you get what I mean? I don't hold any personal person, a whole race, accountable for the actions of some people. Now, me either. I'm not saying.
I don't hate Jerry Seinfeld.
No, listen. I'm not saying that there isn't people that are Jewish with certain last names, Rothschild, Soros. I'm not saying that there isn't certain Jewish people with certain last names that aren't part of a group. Now, before this year, I would have never got onto an NWO conversation with anybody. I would have flat out turned it down until I started seeing how WHO is operating. And I started seeing how what families are donating the most to all of these causes. Now, you notice how I said families. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes. Now, I never, ever said any certain race, nationality. Now, what I am saying is certain families control financial sectors of global economic
And what nationality do they happen to be?
Oh, there's all kind of them. There's Jewish ones. There's African ones. There's German ones. Do you get it? There's British ones. There's Italian ones. Do you get what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to tell you, Mal.
So you'd remember, what's his name? That famous actor. Jesus, what's his name? Good God, I can't believe I'm forgetting it. There's my memory for you, Mike. I say it all the time, don't I? I'm losing my memory. Was it Marlon Brando? Was it Marlon Brando?
What about him?
Who said Jews run Hollywood?
Well,
and how long ago was it that he said that?
A lot of people are anti-Semitic, and it's growing right now, which I will always support Israel and the Jewish people. Like I said, it's families, Mal. You get what I'm saying? Like Nixon. Where does Nixon originate from? Nixon is a surname of a German family that's extremely wealthy that had ties to the Reich. Do you get what I mean?
I didn't know that, no.
Exactly. You didn't know that.
No.
But I mean, there's political families that have last names that are connecting to overseas families that are connected to global banking. This isn't about race. This is about certain families that have managed to financially make moves globally. And now you have Middle Eastern people doing the same thing. It's not the whole people. It's certain.
No, I know. Look,
I mean?
I don't mean to condemn a whole.
I could take you to Tel Aviv and introduce you to a couple of my friends there, and they will fucking straight up talk shit about Soros and Rothschild all day long.
Yeah, I'm not condemning. That's why I say to you, I don't know any Jewish people to hate them. I'm not saying they're all mice or they're all to be painted with the one brush. I'm saying where that idea originates, as we go back and back and back and back and back, you find more and more of these people. And still to this day, 2021, if you land at my door right now and you say, I want to see some Jewish people, I will drive you to St. Kilda. It's a very rich area. If I come there and I say, hey, I want to see Jewish, you might take me to New York.
Well, that might be so, but like I said, though, but you'll see the same thing as certain factors in England, and you'll see the certain, like when you go to Yorkshire, you get what I mean?
Yep.
Which I've been to. When you go to certain, which is a very wealthy area, you get what I mean? When you go to certain areas in certain countries, you'll see certain families are the exact same way. And guess what they own? The fucking British banks. So guess what the British banks are doing? Rubbing shoulders with the bigger bankers. This is all financial. People want to make you think it's about nationality. People want to make you think it's about religion. And they want to, do you realize that we're sitting here fighting or arguing about the same exact fucking things our ancestors argued about in pre-World War II?
Pre-World War II. Now, World War II, I think a lot of people think Hitler just woke up and decided, I don't like this race. How about the fact that after World War I, German people were freezing to death out in the cold. Their money was reduced to fucking shit. You had people with wheelbarrows full of money to buy a loaf of bread. Kids used stacks of money as building blocks back then. The money was worth nothing.
No, I know.
Who caused that?
Hitler did by saturating the market the same way.
He hadn't come to power yet.
Dude, Biden's doing the exact same thing Hitler did.
Yes, he definitely is.
He's making our fucking dollar go down the same way that fucking Hitler did.
No question.
By oversaturation. It's not fucking a nationality. It's fucking stupidly fucking ran decisions by oversaturating your fucking market and making your fucking dollar go down to the value of fucking a couple cents. Do you get what I mean? It's fucking done by over fucking spending. This is basic economics that they don't fucking teach in school anymore, Mal. Do you get what I mean? Again, it's not nationality. It's all boils down to money. Money's not nationality. Money's green. Universally. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not about that. It's about certain people that have the financial access to do this. And when you look at the case like Maxwell, you start to see that. These people are twisted. Keep in mind that there is a video that I posted on YouTube personally that now is starting to worry me, because that fragile drip video that people are talking about, I posted that on YouTube and it disappeared overnight. You know what I mean? And that video, whether it's conspiracy theory or whether that video is fact, will fuck with your head so bad. And if that wasn't Hillary, that was a damn good actress. But those doctors kept those victims alive. Now, I didn't see the whole thing. Like they said, it was parts. Like I did this little 5-minute clip of something that I saw. But they kept, like, there's this guy that did a podcast. He was talking about it. You know what I mean? Like what he said. You see, like the parts that you see will just give you nightmares. The cops that supposedly watched it, like some of them committed suicide. But supposedly what she did was the doctors kept the victim alive, and she cut the victim's face off and put it on her face and danced around now. These people financially can do things that are so demented and twisted that you start to realize it's about money.
Well, I figure at the end of the day, everything is. You know, I mean, that seems to be the priority. And it's a lot older than me. But even when Jeffrey Epstein, with all his money, and they tell you, oh, the police were asleep that night, the video camera didn't work, and yet someone's fucking hung him.
Let me back up. That video that I was talking about is gone. I no longer have it, but it's out there. You know what I mean? Like the clip I had of it, that's long gone.
Yeah.
But it's just like all the other stuff. When you start looking at human trafficking and save the children, these people that are wealthy and rich, like there's an episode of Law and Order SVU. And these cases are based on real cases. They just changed the name and location. And I looked into it. It really happened. It was a politician managed to keep a young girl held captive for over a year underneath him and his spouse's bed. And
I've heard this case, mate. I'm not even surprised. We don't catch all the Jeffrey Dahmers. We don't catch all these people.
Dahmer, these people are worse. I'm telling you.
I bet they're worse.
These people that I'm talking about, they do stuff. Soros and all them, they do stuff that make Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, all of them look like little choir boys. You know what I mean? They can't hold a candle to how demented these people are. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that Epstein situation should have proved that to everyone. I mean, what do you mean the police were asleep, the camera stopped working, and hold on, that, you know, Dr. Bodden's telling you this, meanwhile the report says that, and no one cares. No one cares.
It's the problem with it is they're distracted by race and gender and all this other stuff. And that's what I was trying to say earlier is pre-World War II was the same way. Everybody was distracted by these stupid little things. And you had major things going on. These people are sick and nothing's changed. Do you get what I mean? Like back in the day, early eugenics was so twisted, Mal. Like I don't even know how I watched all the footage I watched when I got into studying genocide and pre-World War II and all that. The stuff they did, like sewing people together and keeping them alive, taking their eyeballs out. Taking blood.
It's a horror show. You know how many people are walking the earth right now that have no fucking clue about any of that?
Right.
I think that's the reason we're heading straight back there. It's because there's not enough people aware of what went on before.
I think that's why they're getting away with it. Like you had people like Fauci. Like Fauci came out the other day and said that he told our Department of Defense and the Biden administration, he's urging them to do germ warfare practices and drills because he doesn't estimate. He estimates that for sure by the end of December, we'll probably be in a biological war. It just seems that every time Fauci and he
kills me.
Something always happens. Am I right?
Oh, he fucking kills me. I can't believe he. I mean, you've got twice as many guns in that country as people. How does he walk around safely? I don't understand it.
Forbes reported that Fauci is the highest paid government official in the United States of America.
He's got to be the greatest fuck up in America, too. In 2 years, I can throw out that many contradictions. It's unbelievable. That anyone anywhere listens to anything he says.
He did this video where he's sitting there in a robe and just like cross-legged, just sitting there stretched out on a poolside fucking pool light chair thing, you know? And he's just sitting here drinking his tea and just smirking and stuff. And I'm like, this guy reminds me of Mangle. Like this guy Mangle was all, do you know that people say that Mangle, even his victims and people that knew him, said that he was the most kindest person they've ever met? And
he wanted your twins. He could talk you into giving them to him.
Yeah, I mean, and me being part gypsy, I take it personal, a lot of this stuff, because a lot of people do talk about Jewish people, but what they don't realize is Russia and Germany killed twice as many. Yeah. Russia and Germany killed twice as many gypsy people as they did Jewish people. You get
that said, yep.
Epstein had a personal gypsy fetish. Or not Epstein, Mengele, sorry. He had a personal gypsy fetish. And these people did twisted science and twisted medical experiments. And people wonder why so many people right now are having a problem trusting doctors and scientists. I'm to the point right now, personally. I was always raised on military bases. I've been raised I was raised to go in the military, even though I never made it there. And seeing my country go down the road that it's going, I no longer have faith in not just the government. I no longer have faith in a lot of scientists, a lot of doctors. I no longer have faith in the education system.
No.
Right now in America, even in Texas, the Biden administration has attached a federal task force to the Department of Education through the FBI that is arresting parents that out at school boards,
domestic terror
online that go against what? CRT.
Isn't it incredible? And we're calling them domestic terrorists. Are you fucking kidding me?
Thought that in America there would come a time period where we're labeled domestic terrorists for having freedom of thought.
Well, you're going that way. You're heading that way very clearly, and we'll be the first pack of idiots to follow you. Don't think I'm mocking your country. We'll be the idiots that go, that's a good idea, let's copy that. Yeah. I mean, we are zombies here. We're worse than you. At least you come up with the original stupid thought. We just see it and follow it. And really, Melbourne, Victoria, the most locked down city on planet Earth during all this fucking COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
Today you say to me, oh, hey, are you guys going back into lockdown? And it's nearly surprising that I can tell you, oh, no, not Melbourne. It must be Queensland or WA or South Australia. It'd be happening somewhere.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's what it is unfortunately Australia has agreed, and it's evident to me through the different people I talked to, which we've talked about, and I've showed you videos that I want to verify if it's plausible or true. And what I've realized is your country sold out a long time ago. Like it's go to who to be the trial ground for everything that they want to do. Unfortunately, like if it's like these globalists are using your country and you and
as
other
a guinea pig,
as the guinea pigs for their agenda to see how people are going to react to it.
And I was shocked, Mike. I'll say it again. It took 20 months before 4,000 protesters gathered. And when people under 40 said, "Oh my God, I can't believe these irresponsible people," I'm sitting there saying, I can't believe that crowd's not 10 times that size and been formed 12 months ago.
Right. I mean, it really, that's what I'm saying is I'm not, it's shocked me because Australia has always been that country that you would just think was like us. You know what I mean? Even though you guys got rid of your guns, I figured you guys would have billy clubs. I pictured big old Australian guys walking down the street with billy clubs and bats going, no, 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 we ain't having that. You know?
I would have agreed with something like that until that COVID bullshit come March of 2020 was when it really kicked in. And I cannot fucking believe what they got away with.
I mean, it's sad when you see them grabbing kids, and it's happening in other countries, and because they're third world, quote unquote, or whatever, you don't hear about it. But like, I'll give you one that wasn't reported on, as in Brazil. And again, same kind of network as what I showed you with the tribal thing that I pay attention to. One of their poor communities posted it. Their father was chased out of his home. He tried to escape by going onto the roof, because in these poorer sections in Latin American countries, how the houses overlap and you could leap from one to another. Yep. He was trying to get onto the roof. And you see the white coats, like doctors with the mask, tackling him down to the ground and then grabbing his arm, and he's screaming and pleading as they're jabbing his arm. You know what I mean? So what it's boiling down to is, if your country's poor or defenseless,
you're fucked.
Yes. And that's why they were using a Rittenhouse so much, because they were hoping to go after our guns. Do you get what I'm saying? I think a lot of these politicians are using these political groups uprising in America, at least, in hopes of causing civil unrest and chaos, in hopes of violence, to the point to where they can declare to take our guns.
He was a lovely guy.
And Mike, while I wouldn't doubt you, I may be, look, I've never been outside of Australia. What do I know? But it's just unimaginable to me that you could do in America what they did in Australia. I cannot fathom them getting away with guns are a religion in your country, sir. People are fucking not kidding when they say, "You take my guns, you come knock on my door and try to take my guns, I'll shoot you right in your mouth." Yeah. And they're not joking. They mean it sincerely.
And that's just what it is. We love our freedoms. You heard me say it earlier. And we don't tolerate people trying to take them from us. And I think people here are waking up to that. Unfortunately, you're still having groups that want others to bow down. Like, I'm finding it funny that BLM founders are making comments now about how, like on Thanksgiving, for instance, one of the BLM founders, she made a comment, Prachish popped up out of the blue, making a comment saying, "I hope you're enjoying eating your turkey and enjoying your festivities on stolen land, on genocide blood, and all this other stuff." And she's tweeting this from her compound that she has built, a compound built on the blood and innocent of all these riots.
And the hypocrisy is not seen. Before she opens her mouth and says that, she doesn't think, "Oh, wait, hold on, look at me. Mm-hmm. Those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks." None of that occurs to her.
Dude, she and other founders built mansions and compounds, and they say all this stuff, but yet she, quote unquote, stepped down. What was it, earlier, towards the end of last year or the beginning of this year, she announced she was stepping down because she feels like BLM has the backbones, or the bones to stand strong on their own, and she can finally focusing on what she wants to do, such as her books and acting.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Mike.
You're telling me that now that you got all these donations,
you're done.
You're
and you
done.
want to bow out. Let the rest carry the load. I mean, you must have been very committed in the first place. You must have had a lot of priorities besides your bank account. Must have. Good God, fuck me, Ray. You got to be joking.
Exactly. So that's what you hear me say, and I know, like, even some of our personal friends, fellow streamers, have disagreed with me sometimes, but I mean what I say. Like, a lot of these movements, like, I see potential in a lot of things. But what I don't see is enough factors of how they're funded, which is the globalists using them as a chess, like pawns, basically, as a distraction. Do you get what I mean? They're always affecting what I call civilians, innocent people. They're not going to Wall Street. They're not going to the politicians' houses. They're not going to Hollywood mansions. They're not going to where the wealthy elite are. They're not going to the warehouses to stop the trucks from coming out of the warehouse. They're going to the freeways and highways and, and all that. So when you really think about what's really going on, is it not obvious that the globalists are funding them as a distraction? Because if you think about it, they're affecting civilians. They're not actually affecting the bankers and the politicians and the corporations. They're not affecting them. They're only affecting your neighbors.
And meanwhile, we don't care about Hunter Biden's laptop anymore, do we? I mean, just look at the evidence. That doesn't matter.
That laptop is what got me effed up on YouTube. That was part of that video that I was telling you about. That's where that video came from, was Weinstein and Hunter Biden's laptops.
But I mean, real serious issues that everyone should find reprehensible. That's just brushed aside and forgotten about.
Right. They're just giving into the distraction. Do you get what I'm saying? This Maxwell case should be the biggest thing globally. Your news should be talking about it. My news should be talking about it. There's politicians and stuff there that probably mingled with Maxwell and Epstein.
Oh, well, they say Bill Clinton had 26 trips on his plane. That's the proven fact, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
And no one cares.
Not as Obama. There was a picture of Obama and Michelle outside of one of Epstein's place.
Now, see, why isn't that world news?
It's false. You get what I'm saying? So this is actually what we're dealing with here. People don't want to call them out on it. People don't see what they're really doing. They're being manipulated by both sides, left and right. This time period that we're getting ready to go in is going to be so many false flags on left and right, global politicians politically. I always say global elite politically, not just mine, globally politically. There's going to be so many false flags planted on both sides. No one's going to know who to trust. And that's exactly what they want. You get what I mean? I'm telling you, it's going to be madness, especially here in America, because look at what Mexico's doing. Okay, so Mexico was on NPR last time we spoke, remember? Mexico was on NPR, and I was listening to this lady talk about how there's a saying in Mexico: if there's a gun that goes off in your neighborhood,
it came from
America. And now you have their president talking about how the violence from the cartel is caused by guns from America.
So he wants to build the wall.
No, it gets better. Yes, absolutely. So what's actually going on, as it turns out, when you're on that border, right? If you look at the Mexico side, you see lights on the fence, right? And you see power and everything else. But when you go to the American side of the fence, there is no lights and no power and basically nothing. So it's kind of like China Joe saying, hey, our neighbor's beefing up their side of the fence, but we're just over here with our thumbs up our butt going whatever. I mean, come on, man.
It's unbelievable, Mike. It's fucking astounding.
Scientists to tell these people they're actually not doing shit except helping out the globalists. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, why are you affecting your neighbors instead of affecting the actual corporation? If you want to, like, I saw this thing in England about these environmentalists were out there doing something, like blocking all this traffic. And I'm going, why aren't you at the warehouse blocking their trucks from coming out?
Yeah, well, I could.
You don't think they're going to reroute their trucks?
I mean, really.
Meanwhile, you're listening to this guy being interviewed he was on his way to an interview that day to get a job. And then while they're having an interview, got a call saying, don't bother showing up. Because these assholes were doing something. So now his 5 kids can't eat because they were doing something. You're not doing something. You're fucking over your neighbors. Meanwhile, the corporations are laughing, smoking their cigars, watching on their big screen TVs, eating their $1,000 fucking food items out of their refrigerator on their big screen TVs going, look at these fucking jokes.
We have the same idiots in these countries. A woman and her mother go and they chain themselves to some truck at the coal mining plant and they say, oh, fossil fuels, we can't have that. Who are you really affecting?
Mm-hmm.
You know, China's building more coal plants. I mean, you're just an ego lunatic looking to have your picture taken and held up as, oh, gee, look, you're doing so. The only person you're really affecting.
The average person in Antifa. Now, granted, let me say this. I actually look at Antifa as 2 Antifas. There's a real Antifa and there's a fake Antifa that you see that's quote unquote loud in the streets and all that, right? Yeah. Now, the loud ones are fake and funded by these globalists, and they're affecting, like I said, the civilians and the neighbors and stuff like that. They don't have a clue what they're doing. Most of them, like even BLM leaders, like the LA chapter and New York chapter, at one point came out and said Antifa is nothing but a joke, a bunch of rich white people that show up to just loot and take pictures and piggyback off of our movement. And they basically disbanded themselves from them. It's only recently you're starting to see a shift again, and the shift is not good. For instance, Sharpton himself was seen in Chicago with the Panthers at a protest, and they literally and finally admitted what their agenda is, which is we won't stop, burn it down. We won't stop until America is replaced with the communism. This is a communist push now being led by BLM, Panthers, Antifa, politicians, globalists. They want a one world communist system. Now, I've been requested. You know how I told you that some of the people in my blood family are scientists and all that kind of stuff? I've been requested to talk about the NWO, One World Religion Center that they're about to open in Dubai next year. So I didn't want to talk about it originally, but let me say this. It's going to be in Dubai, and it's going to be in one building, and it's a synagogue, a mosque, and a church. And it's supposed to represent one path to God, like many paths to God, which is non-biblical in itself, which is why I don't like to talk about it, because the Bible's clear when Jesus said, I am the only way to eternity, which I'm not going to debate with you right now. We've done that in the past. I'm just trying to prove a point.
No, I get what you're saying.
Some people actually are getting. You get what I mean? The fact that the Pope even signed off on this in the first place shows you that the Catholic Church has gotten. When Jesus himself said, I am the only way to the Father. You know what I mean? But yet the Pope is saying, we're part of a new set that says there's more pathways to God. What? Do you get what I'm saying? Now, I know, like my wife says, she gets upset because we're Christian and everybody just takes whatever the Pope says is like ultimate Christian rule. It's not. We don't agree with what the Catholics say majority of the time.
No, of course. That's the difference. Catholics see it, Christians see the Bible as the written word of God, and Catholics see, no, we'll look up to the Pope. He's the head of the game.
Right. Like I was floored when I saw this. And the fact that people aren't talking about it, like I told my wife, I said, people want me to post about it on my news blog and stuff. And I'm like, I can't find anything except on Christian news sites. And then she looked at me and she said, "Is that surprising? You don't at all the other news sites, they don't want to report on it because that proves what the globalists want, a one world religion center in one building." Remember when I told you I took anthropology and majored in it? There's 5 predominant religions in the world. You know what I mean? They're putting them all in one building, essentially. The 3 most prominent, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So this all started happening as a trend a while back. It was 2 years ago that I caught wind of Steve Harvey promoting his new religion called Chrislam, which is a hybrid of Christianity and Islam. Now, the first thought I had was when Yeshua said, "Many will come, many false prophets will come and declare this and that during the end times. But do not be deceived."
Well, no wonder you feel. So my feeling is I'd like to abolish all of it. I'd like to get rid of all the teams. And how about we all go independent and you think what you want and I'll respect your wishes as long as you respect mine. I think that'd be a much better system.
That's how you are. I thought that me and you, we've proven that live on stream many a time.
I think we have.
You know what I mean? Because we don't agree on religious stuff, but we prove that we can agree to disagree many a times. And we even agree on different aspects.
Yes.
That I see spiritually that you see is just common sense.
Well, Mike, it'd be like me saying, "Oh, hey, Slayer's my favorite band. If Metallica's yours, we can't be friends." It's that silly. It's like, how about you like what you like, I'll like what I like, and we'll find where we do get along rather than argue about what we don't. Why is that so much to us? Why is that so hard?
One is distracted and fighting with each other. I'm starting to run out of time. I think I hear my kids starting to get up in the background, but I don't have to run just yet. We got a couple minutes, but I want to, before we end this, I want to say that we need to be encouraging people. Now, I've said this in the past, and I don't name names, but there's been other people we know that have disagreed with what I'm about to say. If you have a platform of any kind, meaning you're on social media, that's called what I call social media responsibility. You know, Tupac, he once said that he believes in, he has a certain accountability that he has to hold up to because he's in a public light. Do you get what I mean? And I started thinking about that. If you're on social media, you're streaming, you're doing a live show, a podcast show, you're doing a news post, like you're blogging, posting news links or thoughts on them or whatever. You have a certain accountability for what you're saying. So I say, utilize your platform in a positive way. Like if you're going to do something, do it for the right reasons. And don't give in to the distractions. Like I said, you should be paying attention to the Maxwell case. You should be, if you're in true crime, you should be encouraging other people to be talking about that case. You get what I mean? Because that's highly tied into the human trafficking. You should be paying attention to the fact that the politicians globally are encouraging people to be addicted to video games, to be addicted to drugs, to be addicted to alcohol, to be addicted to treatments, to be addicted to social media, instant gratification. These are all beta traits. Think about it. So utilize your platform for something better. Do you get what I mean? Like that girl was pleading out, Mal, that I sent you, that one video where she was pleading out saying, "Where's the men at? We need the men like Washington, like Napoleon," and started naming off all these different people. We need men to protect women and children again, to step up, to have the balls to say something. Do you get what I mean? For what you believe in. Does that make sense?
It does, mate. I totally get where you're coming from. I really do.
I mean, because what's the point of encouraging poisonous behavior and contributing to a slow death if you could utilize it to show people what's really going on? Or any kind of way, spiritually, emotionally, whatever it might be. You get what I'm saying? Like, I started realizing that, like, find ways to encourage others to be better, basically, or help build up your fellow man. Like, people don't like the Masons. Like, I was at church the other day. I was talking to somebody about Freemasons, and he was saying this and that about them. I said, let me tell you this. I know plenty of Masons. I've met plenty of Masons. And overall, they truly are about their community and fellow man. See, they're about building each other up. Do you get what I'm saying? And I do think that when they get to a certain point, I'm talking about way up there.
Yep.
Some twisted stuff might happen. There are things like the skulls from Yale. But that goes into the other stuff I was talking about earlier with how sadistic some of these people with money can get. Do you get what I'm saying? The fact of the matter is, we need to quit being distracted by race and gender and stupid arguments and start realizing serious shit is starting to happen, man. We're about to, I could feel confident in saying that we're being rushed into World War III. And instead of talking about that, they're talking about whether or not you got your vaccine. And they're talking about gender, and they're talking about stupid shit. And I'm like, I just was flipping through the channels and just saw like a huge missile silo. Like, and you're talking about this fucker gender shit. Like, the fuck's going on?
Really? We can't agree that Caitlyn Jenner's a man or a woman. Meanwhile, look what's going on while we're arguing about it. It's fucking incredible, Mike.
You're seeing like all these countries with people rising up. And we're busy talking about stupid petty shit.
Yeah.
It was last year I was talking about how Yum Industries, which is KFC, Long John's, Pizza Hut, and a couple other ones, agreed, and they have child restaurants in Berlin, one in Thailand. I forget where the other one is, where they're experimenting with 3D artificial meat printing. So people are basically eating the chicken that they're eating or pizza isn't even real. They take the cell. They showed a cell, little tiny slice cell, and they made put it into this 3D printer and created a whole new item.
That's going too fast for me, mate. I can't keep up anymore. This level of the world's passed me by.
Talked about that on my channel last year.
I mean, really, mate. 3D printing. I mean, oh God. What's next, mate? What are we going to be talking about tomorrow that's more stupid than what we've discussed today? It'll happen.
That's what I was about to say, is if you're paying attention, I've seen this meme. I'm about to post it probably later if I could find it. And it was hilarious. It showed a guy, and it said the guy that you were calling a Nazi conspiracy theorist a year ago, the stuff that he was talking about coming true today on the news. And it showed just all these different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the fact of where we're at. And they're trying to suppress it even farther. When you got global bankers like Soros saying, I'm going to do the biggest fact-checking network.
Oh, yeah, I trust you to do that, Mr. Soros. Knock yourself out.
He also funds a globalist group, because I say globalist because they operate in global elections, called Smiley Face. And what Smiley Face is Smiley Face is a group of college students, normally university or college students, that are volunteer electoral counters. So they're utilizing universities through social media platforms, Twitter and stuff like that, mainly, and bannering them together.
Yep. And
communicating that way. And other social media platforms. Preferably, they like to use the ones that delete, like Snapchat and stuff like that. But to communicate back and forth.
And they have these university students like from Smiley Face going in that are tied into BLM and all these other groups being the counters for presidential elections. And by the way, that Dominion software that we were talking about last year, that stuff is all tied in with Smiley Face too.
Oh,
And Smiley Face turns out to be tied into Soros.
what a shock, Mike, eh? I mean, really.
I mean, you can't.
What a surprise.
It always goes back to what I'm trying to tell you. Money. They want in communist and socialist countries, the only rich people, the only happy people are the rich people. All the regular people are slaves. It doesn't matter if you have a mom and pop business or not. In those systems, you are just a slave, just as poor as the next person. You just happen to have a little bit more. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy that they can't see that. And it's even crazier that they can't see that the celebrities didn't give a damn until it started affecting them. You know what I mean? And guess what that reminded me of? Early 1950s as well. This is nothing more than history repeating itself in a modern form, and they're using social media platforms and new terms for it. I've heard and seen over 30 to 40 things daily that are old terms that they're rewording to make it more socially acceptable, as if we're morons, which they probably do assume majority of people are morons.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, the amount of people that would go, yep, I'll take that. Like, Antifa is a great one. The original Antifa versus the one you talk of today. I mean, do they know what anti means? Do they know what fascist means?
Well, it's funny to me because anti-fascism is a good thing.
Yeah, of course. Of course it is.
The thing is, though, is Antifa,
a total fascist.
Antifa was actually a mixture of Jews and gypsies and other people in Europe that banded together, because you're talking about when communists was ruling over Europe and sections of Europe, those countries, they didn't have access to firearms. If they did, they were lucky, and they normally shared them amongst each other. It was like a community gun. Yep. And it was a group of highly skilled, small groups that took on platoons of Nazis and infiltrated their political sectors.
And look what we refer to as Antifa today.
People wanting to burn down synagogues. I'm like, you are spitting.
Yes.
In a very image of what you're talking about.
Yes.
Antifa should be anti-fascism, anti-globalist agenda, anti-NWO agenda, anti-globalist agenda, anti-bankers, anti-corporations, all of that stuff.
They're totally pro that.
No, they want communism is total government control.
Yes.
You get what I mean?
It's amazing.
The hypocrisy of it is insane.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. What I call a real Antifa, or more like-minded of a real Antifa person, commented on a Portland Antifa member's post. It said, "For bloody sakes, you're doing it all wrong." A guy from and showed how they do it, and said, "This is the way it should be done. You guys are making yourself a walking target." And they commented back and forth, and he just destroyed him. Do you get what I mean? And I showed my wife. I said, even she laughed. She was like, "Whoa!" I said, "That's the difference." He said, "Why are you fighting for the globalist? Why are you fighting for the globalist agenda? Why are you hurting civilians?"
My guess is none of them even thought about any of that before they went and did the silly things they did. They don't seem to think at all.
Exactly. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? They don't have a clue what they're talking about, because they're getting everything from bankers, ultimately, and funders. that can get it on social media. I mean, think about it. I don't necessarily consider, like somebody told me once, you think they're all morons? I said this. I think the people with the headsets and that are posting a social media post and organizing it all together, I think they're brilliant.
Yeah.
I think the people you're seeing on TV looting and doing all that stupid shit talking
Are
are
morons.
fucking idiots.
Exactly right. If they weren't so dumb, these people that are shifty and clever couldn't get away with what they are. It's astounding. They're exploiting the stupidity.
Reports of Antifa in America, and you can, if you go to my old news blog, which I reopened, Working Class Thoughts, there's over 1,000. I think there's over 1,000. I think, or close to it. Antifa mugshots, and when you look at their arrest reports, you see one thing: pedophilia reemerge and women beaters. You would almost think that the American Antifa membership requirement is to be a pedophile or a woman abuser. You know what I mean? Like, and if they're not that, they're social workers, nurses, just felons in general. You know what I mean? Counselors.
Look at the two people Rittenhouse managed to shoot. What was their background? I mean,
A pedophile and a woman beater. You get what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Like, there's another video I just posted not too long ago on my news blog on Instagram of Antifa protesting. Where was that one? Trying to remember. Hold on. Chicago. And you see the two members of Antifa fighting because he was on his phone and found out that the dude talking was a rapist and a pedophile. And said, "You're going to listen to a pedophile?" And they started going at it in the middle of the street. So you can see they're breaking apart.
Can't happen too soon, mate.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you, they're being played against each other. And the people that's doing it are wealthy, sitting in their mansions and their nice little islands. Look at Biden. He wants to claim all this green energy stuff. Then why the hell is he flying every other chance he gets to Nantucket to go sit on this island that's funded by a artificial intelligence funder or whatever, like a huge IT guy? You know what I mean?
It's
Go to his
ridiculous.
house for fucking Thanksgiving. And by the way, when he got there to Nantucket, when he got there to his hometown, he got the Biden theme song that's been going around. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm telling you, these things are falling apart, and it couldn't happen faster enough. And I hope that the momentum keeps growing. I really, really, truly do. Because I really do think that it's starting to shift, and I think people are starting to wake up. But Mal, we got to keep encouraging it. You get what I mean? If you believe in something, whatever you believe in, like I tell you, brother, I tell people all the time, I consider you like a brother from another mother, and I'm like, and he'll tell you we're completely different on our spiritual beliefs, but I can't emphasize enough, no matter what you believe in, and I tell you that all the time, Mal, no matter what you believe in, do what makes you happy and encourage others to do the same. Because they're going to try to take it from you. You know what I mean? When you take away the things they try to take away is freedom of thought, open communication, freedom of religion, traditional marriage, traditional households, the ability to, like I think I already said, but the ability to think for yourself. They want you to not question what is being said. We have seen American politicians I'm sorry, I'm speeding up because I only got 10 minutes left. Right. We have American politicians openly campaigning, saying, as far as I'm concerned, American parents need to shut up and stand down and do not question what the doctors and teachers are saying. That is something that resembles something that Hitler and Stalin would have said in World War II. Shut up. Don't question what we're telling you. Don't question what our authority people is telling you. You better stand down, fall in line, and shut up. Don't question what we're telling you. And yet they can't see that. And the reason why they can't see it is because they plug up these devices, go, yeah. Okay, like I'll give you an example. Divorce rates are up. That could be stopped, right? A lot of it is these youngsters are getting into relationships. They get into an argument. I'm just using this as a hypothetical example because it works the same way with news. They'll post a thought on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it may be. And it could be like they get into a small argument. And I'm sure you've seen it within our own group. And all of a sudden, something that's trivial will get 20 to 30 people just pumping them up like, yeah, fuck that motherfucker, and da-da-da-da-da. And before you know it, we're gone. And the reason why is because there's a virus, there's a real virus going on. And that virus is lack of accountability, people having instant gratification, self-indulgence, self-centered, self-isolated. They could be in a marriage together and yet not even talk to each other because they're on their devices.
Yep.
That's, my friend, is a virus itself. You get what I mean? What you've seen me and Jessica, whenever we talk on the phone, you've seen how we are. We sit at the table together all the time.
Yep.
So we're always talking together. We have communication. She says all the time, I don't know why I see so many of my friends post stuff and we don't have those problems. And I tell her, I say, because we have communication. You get what I'm saying? We're mature. We don't just rush off. We deal with our problems. You get what I mean? But people don't do that no more.
So true, mate.
Do you get what I'm saying? People need like all these other people backing them up for whatever. And if you go against that grain, you're part of the problem. So I prefer, if I'm going to go out on any level, I've always said, if I go out on any level, I'd rather go out being a maverick, someone who thinks original, thinks for himself. Yeah, it might be unorthodox and way crazier, different approach, but at least it's original. Do you get what I'm saying?
At least you're right by yourself, you know.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what it is, and they can't stand that, dude. What they want to see is you miserable. What they want to see is you unhappy, like they are. You get what I'm saying? And if you're not that, you're a problem. So I say go ahead and be a problem and enjoy the fuck out of it.
Exactly right.
You get what I'm saying? I mean, really, you have one life to live.
Yeah.
Don't waste it.
No,
I agree. Quick. I've had near-death experiences more than twice. Life goes by quick, and it goes by way too quick for people to be so dang scared.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Now, it's saying that people need to quit fighting with each other amongst all this stupid stuff. If you want to wear a mask to feel comfortable, wear a mask to feel comfortable, but don't degrade people that don't. You get what I mean? You're an adult, they're an adult. You get what I'm saying? And if go back to parenting your kids too, like there was a time of sticks and stones, you know, like this whole bullying thing, you know, like there's a time of sticks and stones. Like when your kid ran out to you and said, Daddy, this person said this and that. You looked at your son and you go, well, don't worry about it. They're a fucking idiot.
Exactly. Now today it's find a safe space and bar them for it couldn't be sillier, Mike.
Like teach your children the right ways and teach them your traditions because they're trying to kill them now.
Yeah.
You know, and we all have traditions. I know that all these groups out here want to try to tell us that us Caucasians have no traditions, but yes, Europeans have traditions. Germans don't do the exact same things that Irish people and English people do. Australians don't don't eat and dance to the same music and watch the same television and movie shows as what a Russian does. They're very, very different people. You get what I'm saying? And I'm using, yes, I did use yourself as an example there. Like,
No, so true.
there's trying, if you listen to these American politicians on the Democratic side, you listen to what they're saying. And they ultimately trying to say, like, we're all the same or something. I'm like, Italians don't get along with Sicilians and their neighbors, part of the same damn country. Like, Greek people, like, they're all different people. The Greek people aren't doing and eating the exact same things that Portuguese people are.
Yep.
You get Scottish and Irish people are right next to each other, but try to tell them they're exact same thing.
Gee, they love that, won't they?
You get what I'm saying? They're different cultures. We used to be a people, a society globally that would, whatever happened to one world. You get what I'm saying? Remember whenever we were little, we used to see those Coca-Cola commercials where all the children of the different countries were all dancing around. Remember, it was Thank God It's Friday on the TV lineup on TBS or CBS or whatever it was, C Verkle and all that. Like, it came on that commercial where everybody's dancing around Earth and they're all singing one big happy song, and the Coca-Cola bottle showed up in the middle of the Earth for some reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We can all agree on Coca-Cola, can't we?
But the principle behind it was we were about embracing each other's cultures everywhere. I remember seeing shows where everybody would bring like different foods from where they were, and everybody would talk about different things. Now you're like, can you imagine attention if you did something like that today?
Oh God, no, really.
You get what I'm saying? It's sad.
It is.
It's sad. So yeah, I'm still going to stand by the way that I'm still going to be one of those people that's going to bring up that commercial, because that's still how I view it. One Earth. We're one Earth with many cultures and many thoughts and many different traditions. Globally. For those people that don't realize it, there's white people in Africa. And they're not they're still called African.
Yeah, well, some people don't realize that, do they? I mean,
I know a guy that's blue-eyed and red hair that's from South Africa, and he's in Sacramento. He used to go to the bars in the hood specifically for this. And he would go up to like the most hoodest black girl he could. And because he had the accent, you know?
Yeah.
And he would be talking to him. And it, you know how American girls are. Yeah. They'd be into him and he'd be like, you ever been with an African? They're like, no, what the fuck you talking about? Looking at him up and down, like, he's like, do you want to get with one?
That's funny.
You get what I'm saying? Like, it's mind-boggling to me because, see, I've traveled across the globe. You know, Mal, legally, I can even donate blood legally because I lived in Europe off base during the mad cow epidemic. So globally, I cannot donate organs or blood.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying? Because I've had mad cow. I've been exposed to mad cow disease.
My God.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, really.
I mean, it is. It really is. Like, I don't know if it's a forced or whatever, but I never questioned it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've talked to my brother about it too, because he said, yeah, I've been told the same thing because our dad's passed away, my adopted dad, who was in the military or whatever. But yeah, because we lived there or whatever. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it was like we got it or something. I think it's just we lived off base and it was like precaution or something. But because I've talked to other people, like my friends in Israel, that said that they're on that. They remember that too. And they all do. I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's enforced. And that's another thing that cracks me up. You're supposed to enforce this, but I know for a fact you're not enforcing it. But yet you want to enforce all this COVID shit. Like, something's not making sense here.
Absolutely. Isn't
like,
that
you're supposed to do this, but yet it's not enforced. Why are you telling me this is forced? I got questions. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, call me crazy for wanting to think for myself, but I went to the doctor and they were trying to, the very first time at my clinic, they tried to read that COVID checklist. And they only did it once because they started reading it off and they got to like question 5. And I'm like, yeah, but all those questions resemble the exact symptoms that come from either residual side effects or the the things I'm taking the medication for. Am I correct on that? And they smiled at each other, looked at each other, goes, no, you're absolutely right. We're done asking you questions. They didn't get through all of them. So
All right, mate. Where are we?
It's not like I love my doctors where I go to, but I'm not saying anything negative about it. I'm saying that if you show respect to people, generally you're going to get respect back.
Yep.
That was my way of saying I'm not an idiot. I'm
And they stopped treating you like one. I mean, who'd have thought?
You know what I'm saying? It's one of those kind of things. I think if you just show respect to people, they're going to get respect back. So let's just focus on that and everybody keep moving forward, you know? But
There's a beautiful spot to kill it, Mike. That's a very good message for the last word said. It's just turned 11:30 here, mate. Your kids must be about ready.
They're getting up right now. That's what I said. I got to go, but
no worries, mate.
Lives as always. It's been a great 2-hour stream. Leave this up and then
Absolutely.
I'll immediately, like I'll put my stuff together and start recording it.
Hopefully they won't kill it on you. I'm not going to kill it. So just let me know when you've done what you've done and I'll take it away before they take it from us.
No doubt. No doubt.
All right, mate. Have a good day and I'll talk to you very soon.
Always, man.
Thanks, Mike. Good to see you, mate.